Last year it was about May or June. I found something in the internet, in an online store, which I never saw before here in Thailand happening. For the first time ever, I saw somebody offering affordable batteries. Sinopoly prismatic lithium iron phosphate cells. I know it have been used cells, but anyways, before in Thailand, batteries either they have not been offered at all or just for incredibly high prices. So at that time I knew I have to act pretty quickly. I contacted the seller and I asked him if he has 32 or 48 cells of them, and he said yes, he has 50 of those prismatic cells. I decided to buy 48 of those Sinopoly cells. That time I thought it's a very good deal because I didn't know anything about the cells. Today I know, of course, how much those cells degraded, and I would say it's still a good deal, but the prices which I could get them today, of course, would be more fair. But nevertheless, a few days later I had 48 cells laying around on my property, but I did not have a plan what to do with them. And that is the story of today. During the initial planning phase, I had to make one decision, and that was what sort of system I will actually go for. I already had 3 tight systems on my property, and because the property is large, we have the systems all over the place. There was only one photovoltaic array suitable to house a big battery like this, and that one is right at the opposite end here at the garage. But that system already has 3 grid-tied inverters installed there. So if you want to turn this into an off-grid style system with a hybrid inverter, I would have to replace all the equipment there. There was no demand on that phase, right? That phase there is laundry, garage and one apartment, which might have some demand during the daytime, but during the nighttime it was more or less demand only by one guest apartment, and that's not enough. Our main distribution board is right behind me here, and this is the natural point where you would want to have a system like this. Based, of course, at this place I have one solar system, a big one, but it is an off-grid system. This is already our off-grid system. There's nothing I can tap in at this point here, other than, which was the natural solution, then go for a fully AC coupled system. The question was, what kind of equipment can I use? And because there's relatively limited choice of AC coupled battery inverters, which are normally one-phase inverters, so I would have to capture excessive energy from one phase and push it back onto the same phase. This would also not have worked here, because I am taking my energy from one phase and I need it on a different one at the evening to push it on that one. So there was no consumer solution available for me. I have no idea if there are 3-phase AC coupled battery inverters on the market. If they are, I know they would be incredibly expensive, and they would probably cost double the amount of money just for the inverter as what I have paid here for all the system. So I went for a totally modular DIY system, but of course that also meant I had to develop it from the ground up by myself, and that's what I ended up with. I have separate AC chargers, I have a separate inverter and a controller made and programmed, coded by myself. All these sort of issues have been just decided, solutions found right while I was doing this step by step. How do I know when and how much excess energy is available from a solar system? That is measured here in the main distribution board within a smart meter and read out by the controller. and the decisions what is then done is all done here inside the controller. On August 15 I have uploaded my first video and I have presented you the AC-Powerwall project, and it was a project which was just developing by uploading video after video. The last 1.5 years here have not been easy. We are a holiday resort without the most important thing missing, and that's gas, as many as there usually should be, and all of this is because of the pandemic, of course. Thailand is in a perpetual lockdown situation. They have messed up all these vaccination programs and etc, etc. So it's not going to be better anytime soon. So this was one of the projects which was actually finished at the end with all the rest what have to be still done. And the main purpose of this was to reduce our basic costs here, monthly costs, so that we can really try with the lowest possible costs come through this situation here. And it really took its part, and it helped us to stay afloat, while probably we couldn't have done it without all these sorts of preparations we have taken. Okay, so let's answer the most important question, and this question can be answered in just a very short peek, and that is how much AC, which usually would have escaped our property without any compensation for it, no payment from the utility. What does the AC meter show? How much energy did the two AC chargers capture and keep on our property, so that we could use it then later on during the night time. And here it is. I hope you can see this. 3,716 kilowatt hours, so 3.7 megawatt hours of AC has been used by two chargers in around 11 months of operation here. So that's quite substantial. So you know, from the AC which I'm removing by the chargers, of course, only initially 93% will end up as DC in the battery, and then later on by converting it back to AC we are again losing around the same amount of energy. But the round trip efficiency is around 85%. From the 3.7 megawatt hours which we have removed, we have then put back around 3 megawatt hours of AC into our behind the meter system here, and that in around 1 year has saved us about $350 US. So over the year it will be somewhere around $400. The system has cost me $2,800. So yesterday I took measurements on the cells. I took measurements on 3 voltages. I will show you this later. So it's just about to know how the status of balance is on the cells here, and we can then compare these when I'm back and then see if there was any change in the balance of the pack. Because as you know, this pack has no active balancing, and the BMS which is installed there, it would start balancing the cells only at a voltage very short at the end of the charging cycle, and my cells never reach that voltage, so there is really no balancing going on here. So let me show you quickly what the state of the pack is. The pack has tested at around 11,600 watt hours last, so the test is performed every day. When the data set is good enough, the controller is automatically measuring and estimating the capacity of the pack, and it's always now somewhere between 11,500 11,700. That is where it's settled. I have measured the voltages now at 3 points. One is right before the end of the charging cycle with both chargers on. Both chargers mean 45 amps charging current, and 45 amps is exactly 0.2 C rate for this pack now with its remaining capacity. At a higher state of charge, the controller would then actually shut down one charger and finish the charging cycle only with one charger. That's why it's around 85%. So these are also then the highest voltages the cells will see. So it would maybe just go up a little bit by maybe 0.2 of a volt. And here you can see the highest voltage on this cell group, 3.4. That's why this would never reach the 3.55 where the BMS would actually start to bleed off a little bit of energy. The lowest cells here are 3.37 volts. The next measurement is taken after then the cycle is finished, which corresponds around 98% of state of charge as I've set my pack, and 1 hour later. So this is already in the deep resting phase, full but resting. And there again, this first cell string has the lowest voltage, 3.32, and all others, 15 strings, are resting at 3.33 volts. And then the last measurement was done in the morning then, after the pack was discharged. I have set around 4% state of charge. This is the point where I stop discharging. So this is still well above 50 volts, as you can see. And there also this cell string has the lowest voltage then, 3.08, while the highest cell groups are 3.18. So without any tester, you can easily, by doing measurements like this, see immediately where is your weakest cell string, and this is, as you can see, exactly that cell string which we had to correct last time. So these measurements can tell you exactly immediately that that cell string has a lower capacity than all others, because it will be fastest on the up and fastest on the low. Can we tell how much the difference is? Also, you can tell that as well, because you just need to compare the voltages on the top and on the bottom, and the difference between this voltage to the other one and this voltage to the other one in each case is only maybe around 0.5% of state of charge. So this cell string in the worst case is maybe 1% lower in capacity than all the other ones. That is absolutely acceptable if you consider a battery pack with 48 used cells. So once I'm back in around 6 months, or maybe even longer if it takes that long, we will do the same measurements at the same points again, and then we can see how the situation, the balancing situation in the pack has changed. But I know it from my first 8 months of operation, there was actually no reason to believe that now in the next months there will be some major changes here. So now for the people who are new with something like this, there was the discussion already, of course, also on this channel about active balancing. Would you now, with the knowledge of the pack being like this, would you see a need to install an active balancer? What would the active balancer actually do? It would just remove a little bit of energy at the top from the weakest cell group here, and later on it would push it back when it's on the low state. And what sense would that make if you remove energy first on one end and then put it back on the other one? Just keep it like it is. It's my opinion. Yeah, there's a lot of opinions, but that's what I, in my case, see as the best case. Just let everything go the way, measure from time to time, and if you see a need to make some intervention, then do it. Okay, just look very quickly into the data, just how the markers changed. So this is 2020 data here. The battery was installed here from September on, and there's two markers which we can use to see how the solar systems are performing. One is the self-consumption behind the meter, and the other one is the energy mix, how much solar energy and how much is grid energy. While of course the self-consumption is highly depending also on demand. With the energy mix we can see that very nicely, that before the battery our mix was around 40% solar energy and 60% grid energy, and right with the introduction of the new battery, the AC-Powerwall, that jumped by around 10%. So the remainder of this year was above 50%, and if we look into 2021, it was then sometimes even higher than 60%. So that, and the self-consumption behind the meter, 2020 probably somewhere averaging around 60, is then also went up into the 70s. At the battery data itself, we can see the best months. We have removed 375 kilowatt hours per month. Let's say per 30 days. I always make my periods here. Always reading every 30 days. Yeah, so the LiPo battery, we can see here also the data. So my estimation was that around 15 cycles per month had been done on that battery system, but the real live data is also showing. So we have here 22 and 21 cycles per month. So more than expected. In terms of savings, you can see we went from 5,500 baht per month with now all our systems finished. We went there to up to almost 7,000 baht per month savings. So that is more than $200 per month, which we are here actually really saving with our solar systems. How much are we generating in total? So the best months here, around 2,200 kilowatt hours is produced on all of our solar equipment here. As you can see, the AC coupled Powerwall is taking a very important part in our whole energy setup here. Until now it performed flawlessly. There was only one tiny downtime, but only a partial downtime caused by the broken circuit breaker for the charger. So the charger did not work for maybe one day. Otherwise I had to change one current sensor which was on the inverter output side, but that one did not have any effect. It was only there for monitoring, so it did not have any effect on the performance or functionality of the Powerwall itself. And that was already it. And so let's hope that of course this will continue like this. Nobody will be able to make any corrections or maintenance on the battery system until I'm back here again. Right. Those viewers of you who did not see how I have built the system, please check the playlist. There is everything is explained in details how it was done and which components have been used. Okay, so I think there's not much more to say about this. Thank you for watching the video. Please comment on the down and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I see you then probably when I'm in Austria. Thank you.